In this episode, I'm joined by Kim Walker, an HR consultant and director at Streetwise HR, named HR Excellence's HR Consultancy of the Year in 2025, no less. In this episode, Kim shares insights on how AI is disrupting HR functions across the employee lifecycle, from recruitment to employee grievances, and offers practical advice for small and medium-sized organisations navigating this technological shift, including forging documents using AI. Definitely worth a watch or listen on whichever platform you're listening to. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. Well, Kim, welcome to the What Do You Do podcast. It is an absolute pleasure to have you with me today.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
Well, without further ado, what I normally do with our guests is ask what you do for a living and maybe explain what it is that you do to someone who maybe isn't familiar too much with what HR does. Or maybe you can bunk some myths in your intro. I don't know. It's up to you. So tell us, Kim, what do you do for a living?
So I am a HR consultant. So to a lot of people that doesn't mean much, or they're not sure what that means. I think a lot of people don't actually know what HR means in terms of actually what I do. Even my family members who know that I've been doing this for over 20 years still don't really understand what I do. So what do I do? I think at the moment as a consultant, so I help small and medium-sized businesses fix their people challenges. I think that's the way I'd put it in a in a tagline. In reality, what that means is supporting a lot of founders, directors, owners with their businesses. You know, you find that most people that own a business don't own it because they love managing people. They own it because they love the service, product, or whatever it is that the business is about. So once, you may be successful and start to employ a few people, the challenges come in, and it's about getting that expert help. So that's where I like to think I come in and help to grow and make that business thrive through the people element.
Love that. Now, we obviously first got introduced because I put up a post on LinkedIn about managing redundancies with care and compliance. Like, I wanted to hear about some stories, some wonderful professionals that had done processes like that. And I believe you were tagged in the post, which is, a bit of kudos to you there. So you've obviously left a positive impact on one of your clients and or, the employees that you've impacted through running a beautifully run redundancy process. Now, as I said, I've talked a lot recently in recent episodes and also in other webinars about running redundancies with care, which clearly you've done. But I think some of the things that we want to get into today are maybe just a little bit more aligned to the world of HR, what the impacts that are facing HR. And obviously AI is a huge one, and how AI can be implemented or how it's disrupting HR as a function. And what you're seeing from the small, medium-sized organizations that you're working with. I think people would love to learn about what you're seeing, because you have exposure as a consultant across a multitude of organizations, and maybe, you can shed some light on best practice on that kind of thing. So where would you like to start with that? I guess that's quite a large topic to go with.
It's so broad. And a lot of it is, we're in unknown territory, I guess. So a lot of it, I don't have answers, I suppose, or fully formed thoughts around it, because it's so new. And actually, we're kind of thinking on our feet a lot of the time because you don't know. But it's really a really interesting area. It's an area that is coming up again and again, with conversations that I'm having, networking. When I go networking, a lot of the conversations, HR or not, are, what are you doing about AI?
So my question to you then is, what are the biggest challenges that you're seeing with people in organizations as a result of AI?
So I'd say number one is, if you look at kind of the employee life cycle, if you like, because obviously we're HR, we like to do that. So from beginning, job applications, people either writing their covering letters through AI, creating their CVs through AI, doing a whole job application process through AI, is really difficult, because then once you have that person in front of you, the difference is, so far apart. You feel like you've pre-assessed a candidate based on this initial information that you've had, and then the candidate's sitting in front of you that doesn't match up. And even to the extent of going, oh, so you've said this in your cover letter, can you explain that to me a little bit more? And the blank look on the face because they didn't write that cover letter. So actually they don't know.
That's so awkward. And I have to say, I came across something called AI Apply, which automates people's applications. So they apply, like the tagline is apply for hundreds of jobs in minutes, because it automates the whole process. But then surely are people actually getting jobs as a result of that? Because if they're doing what you just said, then they're just going to look like right plonkers.
Yeah. So because what those sort of systems will do, my understanding is, as far as I've seen, is that it will look at a job description and then write a CV or a cover letter or a job application that exactly matches. So of course, as someone recruiting, as a recruiting manager or a HR professional or a talent professional, you'll look at that and go, oh wow, yeah, they exactly match. Great, let's put them through to next stage. Now, if you're using an automated system yourself or an AI generated system yourself, often it will actually discount that person completely because it knows it's written by AI. So it will filter that out. So it works the other way. So there isn't a perfect science there. The best thing is to write your own CV and your own cover letter, read the job description, old school. But we all have these tools and we're all told to use these tools.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've got to put my hands up and admit that we have a CV reviewer tool, and it is programmed on the basis of, well, it's been created from the perspective of a recruiter, i.e., my background, I worked for 12 years in recruitment, 4 years running my own agency, and some of our team are former recruiters too. And we built this tool to essentially give people feedback, but it's more critical feedback. So rather than listing the things that they've done, it's more about turning that into a commercial framing of this is the impact of the work that I've done. And, saying like, I've improved business improvements by XYZ, or increased revenue by XYZ because of these things that I did. And it's all about questioning the reframing. So just got to obviously say that ours isn't that, our tool.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Claudia, that if it's something really specific that's been built specifically, that's something different to these kind of blanket programs that really operate on prompts and people maybe not really knowing what they're asking for or what they're doing. And as you say, the mass generated, just apply for 100 jobs. Something in you surely has got to go, that doesn't feel right. It's too easy almost. So that's where we're seeing it at the beginning of the process. Obviously ideal more so with those that are currently employed. So we then get to really AI written grievances is massive.
I'm sure.
Absolutely massive at the moment. So, there was a time when, if you received a grievance, which is, absolutely fine, there's a process, that's the way to do it. In writing, you receive an email and you'd read through the email. Yes, sometimes people would send a long email, of course, because they might have 2 or 3 things they want to, they want to say. They might have pored over that email, because they really want to get their grievance across. So, we're not strangers to having a bit of an essay to pick through. But now it's something different. It's morphed in something different. So if you think you could put into, let's say, a chat GPT, for example, write me a grievance based on the fact that I have had a disagreement with my line manager, that could be 5 or 6 pages long of just repeats, saying the same thing, in different ways, bringing a lot of employment law or case law into it, which actually often when you look into it either isn't relevant or isn't actually UK law. So, but of course, a layman looking at that wouldn't know that. They just think, well, that sounds great. That really supports my point. I'll send that. Of course, what you then find yourself doing on the other side of the coin, being HR, is picking through what's relevant, what's not relevant, and trying to get to the crux of the grievance rather than actually trying to fix that person's grievance and actually trying to help them.
So how are you doing that? Are you using AI your end to identify the key points, or are you just doing it manually?
I'd say a bit of both. Sometimes you have to start because we'd be there hours.
Yeah.
By sort of going, okay, can you simplify this and get to the crux of this matter? I mean, the grievance process is always meet with the person who's submitted the grievance first. That is what you would do, because even if someone's, poured their heart out, you still just want to get to what is the crux of the matter and what can we kind of do about it. So, but again, you get to that similar with the candidates. You sort of say, okay, well, you said this in your grievance, and again, they just look at you. Oh, right, did I? Can you explain to me what that means? And they can't explain to you what that means because they didn't write it, so they don't really know. They just know that actually that they are aggrieved and there's a reason. So you kind of then almost scrap that. But what that doesn't do from a HR point of view is you have to respond to it. So, of course, if you've got a 6-page grievance and you respond with 2 lines, if you did end up in a tribunal situation, that's not going to look, that's not going to look right. It's not a reasonable response. It's not going to look like you've taken this correct due care and attention on it. So you kind of get into a situation where you almost have to then put your response through AI. And then where does it end?
Is it AI just talking to AI at the end of the day then?
Essentially. There's also now AI lawyers.
I've seen this.
Yes. So you end up just talking to AI bots that are lawyers. I don't really understand how that works. But again, we've dealt with a couple of these, and a lot of what is sent through isn't necessarily relevant to the case that you're dealing with or the matter that the employee has first kind of raised or brought to light, and that you'll never win. So there's never a point where they then go, okay, fine. Because it's AI, it's trained to just go back and go back and go back and go back. So it's really tough, I'd say, in those situations.
I was going to say, so what has been the outcome of these situations? Have you managed to I don't know, obviously you're working on behalf of the employer at this point, but have you managed to settle anything at least?
Yes, we have. It really works best when you just get the employee into either a meeting, whether that's virtual or phone call or in person. Obviously in person is always the preferred route, so that you can actually talk to the person and rationalize with them and find out how can we resolve this. That's the purpose of these things, not to get into an argument driven by an AI bot, but actually to talk to the real person and say, how can we fix this one way or another? Or is there actually a situation that needs to be fixed, or can it not? And that's the only way you're going to get to a resolution in those situations.
And how are you feeling as HR, knowing that, let's say, for example, you got to do those calls on remotely, and everyone's using AI bots to record calls these days, obviously. How does that make you feel going into these conversations like you're being recorded?
I feel okay about it because I'm used to being recorded, I suppose. The only way to put it. It's actually always been a thing. I think almost since I've been in HR, I was once recorded on like a dictaphone.
Yeah,
that was hidden. So, also I know what to say and not what to say because I'm trained and I've got many years experience. I think the people that are worried are managers going into those sort of meetings, either without HR support, but sometimes even with the HR support, because they worry that they might say the wrong thing. And very often we'll have like a pre-chat with a manager or a director or whatever to sort of say, okay, well, this is how it's going to go, and we're here to support you, but also support the employees. So we might interject, and we discuss all of that. Then you sort of go into the meeting, and very often they will just almost say nothing.
Interesting.
Awkward. But I do think they're worried about it, and that's
I noticed as well that obviously with unfair dismissal protections reducing from 2 years to 6 months now, there's probably even more training that needs to go into managers. Otherwise, you're going to have even more grievances being reported because, at the end of the day, I guess employees are even more educated from AI these days on changes in legislation, and therefore you're going to have more things on your desk.
Yeah, that's the other thing. An employee might not be litigiously minded. They might sort of think, oh, I'm not too happy about that, but maybe some people just go, well, I'll just go and find another job. Actually, the environment isn't right for me, or it's not actually the job for me, and they sort of have that self-reflection, and it's not sort of anyone's fault. It's just that didn't work out. That's becoming less and less, because I think they are, maybe rather than just going to talk to their partner or their parents or their friends and sort of going, oh well, maybe I'll look for another job, they're asking Claude, ChatGPT, whoever, and immediately it comes back with quite an aggressive, litigious answer. Yes, you could do this and you could do that, and you can get legal support for this, and suddenly think, oh, okay, all right then, I will push it. Often it's just very stressful for both sides, and they don't often get what they think the outcome's going to be anyway. Because often there isn't actually something fundamentally wrong, or someone has been significantly maltreated or anything like that. It generally, particularly in that 6 months, in that probation period, is that it's just not working out for a number of reasons.
So you mentioned there about obviously how AI affects the recruitment side, and then grievances, etc. How else is it affecting other elements of like the employee life cycle?
So another really interesting one is evidence for things like disciplinaries. So I did a really interesting case, must have been last year, I think, and it was a case of theft. So an employee was accused of theft. The employee had responsibility for a company credit card, an eBay account, an Amazon account. It was that sort of job, all fine. And then something was raised where it was like, oh, that looks an odd transaction. And then there was I think it was like the eBay account, and then on the credit card, oh, that looks an odd transaction. It had been raised. And so the MD said, hang on a minute, that's two things now. Let me just have a look what's going on here. Investigated, found so many different things where money was being misused, not paid back into company accounts, lots and lots of different things. So, of course, a disciplinary was called. So as part of a disciplinary, I don't know how much you know, Claudia, but you invite the person to the disciplinary, and with the evidence that you kind of have, and the evidence that you will rely on to make a decision at that disciplinary. So that all went across to this employee. Now the employee responded prior to the disciplinary hearing with their own list of evidence, and it was almost like a Word document with lots of hyperlinks on it. So every allegation had a piece of evidence. So whether it was a receipt, an Amazon screenshot, and one of them was tickets to the theatre.
Okay.
So we looked at it, and when that dropped in my inbox, my HR heart, I absolutely dropped, because I thought, oh my goodness, we've completely got this employee wrong. This is awful. Poor person. Like, we've accused them of this. We thought we had all this evidence, but clearly it was all above board. And you clicked in it. It looked so real. So I discussed with the MD, and I said, we'll still go forward with the disciplinary, but we'll have to go through all of this evidence and, explain the procedure. She said, well, there's just something that's not sitting right with me. Can I check some of these? And I said, yeah, part of investigation. Yeah, you can. She sent it to us. We can kind of double check it. Not quite sure how we go about that, but yeah. She said, well, the receipts I could probably call. One was like a cafe. She's like, I could maybe call them and see if they've got a copy of that receipt with the receipt number.
Right.
I'll try that. She did that. They said, no, sorry, it's too long ago. We don't hold that. She said, okay. So it was the theatre tickets. She said, well, I'll just phone up, and I know they won't give me any personal information. That's fine. GDPR, all that. But I'll just see if she can tell me what name they were booked under, maybe. So she phoned up and said, oh, can you tell me? And they said, no. And she wasn't really getting very far. And they said, well, just tell me, going on and on. They said, well, just tell me what the tickets are. Maybe we could help you. And she said, oh, well, they're for so-and-so performance, J1 and J2. And they went, oh, well, we can help you with that. There isn't a row J. She went, okay. So this happened a few more times on a few more different things. But that was kind of what I would call, the smoking gun, if you like, of, okay, now they've submitted fraudulent evidence, which is an even bigger issue. So, of course, this was put to the employee at the disciplinary hearing, and she left the business. But had we not had the presence of mind to check that, or had that evidence been taken at face value, which was all AI generated, photoshopped, whatever, technology was used, and it looked, to me, it all looked absolutely genuine.
Yeah. Wow. I
So
feel like there should
scary.
be a flag on AI in general for like, manipulating documents in general. It should stop. There should be some safeguarding around things like that, because that's obviously, it's going to come up more and more like often.
Yeah, even things like Canva and things like that can be used to make really credible like qualification certificates. So we haven't come across that yet, but I have heard from other HR professionals that people have faked, their qualifications. And of course, as good HR people and good employers, as part of due diligence for employing that person that has to have an AACA qualification or whatever it is, we check the certificates. We try and check the originals. That's not always the case, if we're honest, but we do try. But they can just be so well made through something as simple, free, document generator such as Canva. And you would never know to the naked eye unless you're, a detective. I feel like I am sometimes. And why would you disbelieve that person? That is the other side of it.
Definitely.
Until it's generally too late.
Well, it sounds like consulting world is definitely keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Okay, great. So now obviously you made the jump from internal HR into consultancy. So what was the motivation to switch from, being internal to external?
I think it was mainly curiosity. I think, a lot of roles that you hear about that are kind of have an internal, but then there's a consultancy route, and you think, feels interesting. It's not just one business. It's not just one kind of list of cases. So I think I was just interested. I was kind of referred at the time through a friend who knew the business owner of the consultancy where I work. So I thought, oh, well, obviously, if she knows her, then, obviously must be the right sort of thing. So kind of went for the interview, and it was really the passion from Debbie, who's the business owner, at the interview that made me think, yeah, okay, I'm going to give this a go. And I wasn't too sure. It was a leap of faith, because I thought, you do get that almost that imposter syndrome and that crisis of confidence of, okay, I know I can do HR and I know I can do it really well for one company, and all those things that you need to know about that company. You get to know all the employees, all the systems, all the managers, how people are working, the way that, their culture, how they do it. How am I going to do that for 30, 40, 50 companies? So that was scary. And it did take me quite a long time to wrap my head around it. I'd say a good 6 to 9 months to even just get out of an internal mindset and into the consultancy mindset, because not only have you got to be so good at HR and be the expert, but also you've got to think about the commerciality and are you making money? And then you've got to think about, the reputation of the business that's been built before you. And you've got to think these people are paying for this service. So you are providing that good customer service route as well. So it was so many other things rather than just coming in and doing a 9 to 5 job as part of a wider team that was kind of the same every day. And really, as a consultant, we do the boring things. Don't get me wrong. We do the everyday, sit and upload contract change letters or add people's sickness into a system. But generally, people need a consultant when they don't know what to do. So yeah, so I've given some examples, but the variety and the sort of crazy stories.
Yeah, it's certainly a bit more exciting, I guess. Well, good. I mean, it also probably, one of the key things like that I'm reflecting on is that it probably gives you, like, it changes the relationships that you build. Like, obviously you're building relationships with employees internally, but you're building it with like client stakeholders really when you're external. And then also one of the other things I was just thinking about, which is completely just gone from my brain, is what was it? I can't even remember now.
Everybody wants it different in consultancy. That's one of the big challenges. So quite rightly, as you say, a lot of them don't want us to talk to the employees as yes, I'm your HR. but some of them do. Some of them go, no, I want you to have one-to-ones with everyone. I want everyone to know they can come to you, and you almost act like that internal support. But again, it's different. Everybody wants something different.
Yeah.
And you have to try and remember, or we try and write down what those kind of expectations are. Because again, they're paying for the service, they're paying for what they want. Internal, it's much easier to say, well, no, we're not going to do that, or no, we haven't got time this week because we're focusing on this project. But every client's a priority when you're a consultant.
Well, and how do you manage the practicalities of even managing your diary? If you're working with one client and then all of a sudden they say, right, we're going through a review period. I need you to speak to every employee within the organization. That obviously takes up a lot of your time and it probably takes you away from other clients at the same time. So how do you manage that?
We try and manage it between the team.
Yeah.
So we've tried quite a few different models in terms of managing our clients and our workloads. And whilst we have account leads, so every client would have an account lead because, of course, we're building a relationship with that client. We are very upfront with the fact that the whole team will share the work and share the doing, because exactly that, we can't always be available 24/7. I mean, I don't work a Friday. Most of my clients are open 5 days a week. So they can't get me on a Friday, but they know that they can absolutely get one of the other team. Often they will wait unless it's an emergency because that's how people are wired, but it's that kind of thing. And we do try and share things. So we have just started delivering a CMI level 5 for Bournemouth and Poole College. And normally they would have one tutor to deliver that whole, it's a 20-week course. And we've had to say, well, we'll have to change up the tutors. So we've split it up between us, the three, the owner and me and Katie, the 2 directors, because there's no way one person could give that much time for 20 weeks in terms of diaries and other commitments that we've got in. So we just try and be really upfront with it when we're booking those kind of things in. And sometimes it works out. Small business I had last month, this month, we're about to get into the new month, just had one standalone redundancy they wanted done, a very small 5-person business. And so I had to just go there 3 times, but it was about an hour's drive, just under each way. So I just had to say, okay, well, this is the process and this is the dates I can do. And then we had to kind of build it around that because they wanted that in person,
of course, needed
kind of process. Yeah. But had I not been able to do that, I would have either had to allocate it to somebody else, or we would have again had to share, which isn't great in those situations. But sometimes it's just the way it goes.
Okay, great. So for anyone listening who might need some support from, maybe they're a business owner listening right now and they might need some support with redundancies or anything actually, firstly, what's the biggest thing that people come to Streetwise for?
I say it's 2 things. So compliance, because generally, particularly now, because the Employment Rights Act changes. So can you check my contract and handbook or my policies are up to date and they're in line with the legislation? So that's kind of a massive part of what we do. But then secondly, it is crisis talks. We've got a disciplinary, we've got a grievance, we've got somebody who's a long-term sick. So something that is, employment relations related. And as I say, they kind of go, I don't know what to do in this situation.
Gotcha. Perfect. And what kind of size organizations and or industries do you work with?
So we work with any and all industry, because with HR generally it does not matter, and because everybody in the team has come from a myriad of different businesses, we've kind of got it all covered, from education to healthcare, to creative industries, to manufacturing, to retail. We've all done it all. So that's kind of all covered. And in terms of size, we can obviously work with any size. Generally, our kind of retainers and the people that we work with most closely are those small to medium businesses. I'd say anything from 10 employees up to kind of 200 employees. But we do work with much bigger national global businesses. But that would be more assisting the teams that they already have. So it's a slightly different model. So, if someone's got a redundancy process that they haven't got enough HR people to run it, we'll kind of do this team here for them, that kind of thing. If they've got sort of umpteen grievances or grievances raised by their HR team.
Okay.
So we've done that quite a lot for bigger businesses where they just haven't got the resource or the amount of team members needed.
Brilliant. Well, that sounds good. Sounds like you're on hand to support if any crisis occurs.
We try.
Brilliant. And so where can people find you? Where can people reach out to you if they do need some support?
So our website is the best place to go, which is streetwisehr.co.uk, and emailing us at yourjourneystartshere@streetwisehr.co.uk is the best place to get us, because that goes to all of us, and best place to get a response, and we can either email or phone back.
Fabulous. And you mentioned obviously the HR sounding board. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what gap are you trying to fill for that?
So we run, it's my baby, so I'm quite passionate about it, but we run a local support community for HR professionals. Now, we started targeting kind of those standalone HR professionals because we felt we'd all been in that position, and there is a lack of support within the business for somebody just to talk to, run things past, sense check, kind of be in that same boat from a HR perspective. So we felt it was a kind of gap in the market, particularly locally, because there's lots of online groups, but none that really get together as a people. So we run 3 events in Bournemouth a year. Hoping to increase that as time goes on, but that's where we are at the moment. And we get lots of local HR people, and we're still starting to get some people that are not necessarily HR managers or HR directors, but are responsible for HR in their business as well, coming along. So it's really, really valuable. We choose a different topic for each session, and we also sometimes have guest speakers as well. Lovely pastries and lovely coffee, which everyone needs. And we do a very interactive delivery. So it's really valuable for the attendees. It's not just, I'm going to stand up and tell you about this topic. It is about what is happening in your businesses. We share best practice. We share pain points. We have a giggle. And it's really, really insightful, because you have, someone who maybe, works at Lush, let's say, for example, a big local company for us. National company, but local for us in terms of employer. And that's a very, very different setup, different set of policies and how that operates to, a local IT company that's kind of round the corner with 50 employees. So you get those really good debates and really good conversations. And you just know when someone said a gem, because everyone just suddenly writes something down. Oh yeah, that's a really good idea. And we've got some great regulars that come, even people that you've now swapped their jobs a few times, and they still keep coming back to the HR sounding board. Brilliant. Which is great.
So how long has it been running for?
We started it in 2023, I think. So that's like 3-4 years are we in now?
Nice.
I think.
And how many people are part of the community?
So online, lots and lots and lots. People that are actually coming to the events, we've purposely kept them quite small, because we started off, we did quite big events. The first 3 we had 100 people, maybe more, but we felt that wasn't really achieving what we wanted to achieve, because it did become this whole, like a seminar. And we didn't really want that. So we've reduced it right down. So we get between 10 to 15 people kind of in the room at any one time, so that actually the conversations can happen. And we wouldn't want that to go past really sort of 25-30 as a maximum.
Okay, brilliant. Well, it sounds like you're offering some fabulous support to the community in Bournemouth. So kudos. Brilliant. Well, Kim, it has been an absolute delight to have you on today. So thank you so much for taking the time out and, spreading some insights into the world of AI and how it's impacting HR professionals, and obviously for sharing your HR sounding board. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks, Claudia.
If today's conversation resonated with you, here's where to go next. If you're navigating redundancy or a career change and you're not quite sure what comes next, head to whatdoyoudo.com. You can take our AI career assessment, explore our coaching packages, or join a community of people who get exactly what you're going through. If you're an HR leader or people team supporting colleagues through redundancy or restructure, we work with organisations too. Find out about our outplacement support at whatdoyoudo.com. And if you love this episode, please leave us a review, share it with someone who really needs it, and come and find me on LinkedIn. I'm Claudia Gasson. I'll see you on the next episode.